Okay, now I'm going to take you through one round of Sun Salutation B. We're going to start at the top of our mats in Tadasana, mountain pose. So you can have your feet close together, your big toes touching, or you can stand with your feet parallel with your hips if that's more comfortable for you. We're going to draw up through the kneecaps, through the quads, tucking the pelvis under slightly, and then our shoulders, rolling our shoulders away from our ears. Our palms are facing forward and our crown is lifting. So we've got a nice long spine, standing tall in mountain pose. And take a deep breath here. On the next in-breath, we move into chair pose. So chair pose, you're sitting on an imaginary chair. So we're going to take your weight into your heels as you bend your knees and lower your seat bones. Hips are going back, thighs squeezing together. You should still be able to see your toes just in front of your knees, and your hands can be here, so arms parallel with your ears, your shoulders drawing back down, or you can have your hands in heart prayer, in that prayer position at heart center. You need to tuck the navel, draw the navel in. Chair pose. From chair pose, we're going to move down into a forward fold. So we can straighten the legs but keeping the knees softened, and we're hinging forward and down, so our hands are coming towards the mat. Fingertips in line with our toes. Now you could use blocks here to bring the earth to you. We're creating length in the spine, drawing the navel in, head and neck relaxed in a deep forward fold. From here, we're going to straighten the legs, lengthen the spine, and move into a half forward bend. So your palms can be on your shins or they can be on your thighs. We want to create nice length in the spine. Okay, from a half bend, we're going to move into a plank. So we're going to soften our knees and put our fingertips to the mat. Then we're going to step back one leg at a time. So plank pose can always be done on the knees. Your fingertips will be spread wide, wrists under shoulders. We're rounding the top of the spine, so we're creating space between our shoulder blades, and we're sending our heels to the back of the mat. So we're creating one long line of energy from our heels to the crown of our head, drawing the navel in. We drop to our knees, and then we're going to move through a chaturanga to the mat and then into a cobra. So we're going to keep our elbows tucked into our body, and we're going to shift our weight forward so that our chest becomes in line with our fingertips, and then we're going to lower our whole body to just above the mat, where we pause for a breath and then lower to the mat. Uncurl the toes and pushing away from your palms, you're going to move into a cobra, so a gentle back bend. Important here to engage your glutes to protect your spine and to draw your shoulders away from your ears, and the eye gaze is forward. If it's appropriate for you, you could move into an upward facing dog. So we're pressing into the tops of our feet, and our thighs are just hovering above the mat. I'm going to curl my toes under because we're going to move into a downward facing dog. So we're going to take our sit bones back towards our heels and then pushing through our palms, lifting our hips and straightening our legs. into a downward facing dog. So the aim of downward facing dog isn't necessarily to get your heels to the floor, it's to create length in your spine. So you may find that by bending your knees, you can lift your hips a bit higher. Fingers should be spread wide and our ears in line with our biceps. Okay, now we're going to lift our right leg high behind us, so it's straight out behind us, and then we're going to bend our knee and scoop our leg underneath us so that our foot can be placed in between our hands at the front of our mat. So you're swinging it underneath you. Now you may get to here, and that's fine. You can grasp it with your hand and move it forward. So if we're just pausing in that lunge, and then we're going to move into a warrior one. So the right foot remains planted on the mat, the right knee is bent, and then we're going to plant our left heel down on the mat and rise up. So our back foot is also at a 45-degree angle, pointing towards the sort of front left of the mat, be in line with the heel of the right foot. But we want to keep our hips facing forward. So maybe by widening our stance slightly, so by taking that back foot out, we become more balanced and able to shine our hips forward. The front knee is still bent, the back leg is straight, grounding into the outside edge of the back foot, keeping the knee above the heel. And then you can have your hands on your hips for stability, or you can have them at heart centre, or you can raise them. So keeping your shoulders down, palms parallel, thumbs towards the back of the mat, and drawing our navel in. Nice strong warrior one. We're going to move from warrior one back into a plank. So our hands come back to the mat, and our right foot steps back to meet our left foot. Pushing away from the mat, we can be on our knees here, creating space between our shoulder blades. Then we're going to shift our weight forward, keeping our elbows tucked in, lowering the body just above the mat, chaturanga, lowering completely to the mat, untucking the toes, and then scooping up into a cobra, keeping the elbows tucked in, engaging the glutes, or into an upward facing dog with our thighs just above the mat. Going to curl our toes under, move back into the downward facing dog, so our sit bones are going back towards our heels, and then we're lifting up, pushing away from the mat with our palms, creating length in the spine. We're going to take our left leg up this time, high behind us, and then swing it through to place it between our hands. We're going to ground down into the right foot this time, rising back into warrior one. So keeping the left knee bent in line with the ankle, straight back leg, and have that line from the front heel to the back heel, or we can step slightly wider. We want our hips to be parallel with our mat. Hands can be at heart centre or raised with our shoulders away from our ears. Warrior one. We're going to move from warrior one back into plank. So lowering our hands to the mat, stepping back with the left foot, and drop to our knees, elbows tucked in, lowering chaturanga, lowering to the mat, coming up into our cobra or into our upward facing dog. Curling the toes under, we're going to go into our downward facing dog, again. This time we're going to pause in it for 5 breaths. So lifting our seat bones up and back, creating space between our fingertips, pushing away from the palms, heels moving towards the floor, hips high and back. Take 5 deep breaths, in through your nose, out through your nose. Okay, now we're going to move to the front of our mat. So we look forward, we can take a walk until our hands are between our feet are between our hands, or you can have a hop. And then we're rising up to our half fold again. So fingertips to the mat, palms to shins, palms to thighs, whichever is most appropriate for you, keeping a nice long spine. Now to lower down into that deep fold again, where our fingertips are moving towards the mat, in line with our toes, creating length in our spine. And from here, we're going to push away from the earth and sit back in our chair. So I'm taking my weight into my heels, squeezing my thighs together, drawing my navel in. Hands can be here, or they can be at heart centre. And we're going to move up into mountain pose to finish. So close our eyes here, take a deep breath. That's it. Thank you. Well done.